It began with a chime. Initially, I wasn't really focused on it. Adam had put his phone down on the kitchen counter while he was out in the yard. I had just finished brewing coffee and was idly looking through my phone. His phone buzzed once more, though. Snooping isn't something I do, yet my gaze drifted over to it. A notification from a group chat came up. Family First. That title on its own made me happy. But then I saw the message's first words. Mom, just keep acting like we love her until she pays for the house repairs. My heart completely froze. I felt sick and I was frozen in place. My grip on my coffee mug was growing tighter. I had to have misunderstood that. I just had to. With my hands trembling, I picked up his phone and unlocked it. I knew his password. He had nothing to conceal, or so I'd believed, and I started scrolling up. What I read made my entire body get cold. Mom, she's nearly finished covering everything. A few more months and we can finally cut her off. Dad, good. Just keep up the act. If she gets suspicious, we're finished. Adam. Don't worry, she's far too eager for family. She'll never realize what's happening. Mom, as soon as she's paid, will suggest she moves out. She's getting too comfortable here. Desperate for family, my gut churned, my breathing felt restricted. I had devoted years of my life working hard for them. When my mom was in the hospital, I took care of all the bills. When Adam wanted to go to college, I emptied my savings to help him. After the fire damaged our home and needed fixing, I took on 2 jobs to foot the bill. All along, though, I felt used by them. A fierce, internal rage began to consume me. I felt the urge to shout out loud. I wanted to just run away and call them out. But then, suddenly, an idea hit me like a bolt. No, if they wanted to think they were using me, I'd let them keep thinking they were succeeding. Because when I was finished, they would be left with absolutely nothing. I set Adam's phone precisely back where I found it. He walked back inside, yawning and stretching, and I smiled like everything was fine. Hey, can you get me some juice from the fridge? He grumbled while looking at his phone, going through their texts. I glanced at him from the side of my face. He didn't react, not even a flicker of remorse. I gave him his juice with a small smile, my insides twisting with anger. They thought I was an easy mark, right? Fine by me. Let them believe that, because from right now on, I wasn't just their naive little source of income anymore. I was going to be their biggest blunder. For the next few weeks, I acted my part flawlessly. I continued acting as the ideal daughter, as the perfect sister. When Mom lamented about the kitchen tiles needing to be redone, I offered to pay. When Dad complained about the growing electric bills, I acted worried. When Adam asked me for money for a business venture, I gave him the cash without hesitating. And they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. They were so smug, so certain that I was still blindly devoted to them. Behind all the cheerful expressions, I was quietly taking them down. Slowly, very slowly. The initial thing I did, I cut off their ability to touch my finances. For ages, my paycheck had been sent straight into our shared family account. They always helped themselves to it, as if it was something they were entitled to. But that was over. I made a secret account, moved every bit of money I had, and adjusted my direct deposit. After that, I stopped taking care of any of the bills. Power, water, the internet. They would have to deal with those now. Initially, they didn't catch on, not until the power was suddenly turned off. My mom's yelling echoed throughout the house. What's happening? She demanded very loudly. My dad scrambled for his phone, trying to call the power company. I thought it was set to auto-pay, he stammered. I casually took a sip of my tea. Oh, I replied in a seemingly innocent tone. I thought you would take over since I've been managing those things for so long. The looks on their faces were absolute horror. Adam was the simplest one to break. He'd never had a job. He had no money set aside, no backup, nothing at all. So when he asked me for money, as he always did, I gave him a smile. I'm sorry, I told him. I can't provide any help right now. He was shocked. What are you talking about? I sat back, my voice quiet but harsh. I mean, you're on your own now. He lost control. He was yelling, screaming. He started throwing stuff around, but I simply watched him fall apart. What they didn't know was that when I got a loan to fix up the house, I made sure the deed was in my name. I realized they thought they were pulling a fast one on me, but they'd inadvertently signed everything over to me. So when they tried to make me feel bad, I delivered the unexpected news. "This house," I stated. I spoke, waving the legal documents in the air. "It's mine now." My mother's face lost all its color. My father's jaw dropped. Adam recoiled as if he'd been struck. "No, that isn't possible," he stammered. "Oh, but it is," I replied, crossing my arms. "And get this, you're all being kicked out." The stillness that followed my declaration was almost unbearable. My mom seemed to be struggling to understand the words, but they didn't seem to sink in. My dad was clutching the edge of the table, his knuckles growing whiter. Adam, though, was the first to react explosively. "You're lying," he yelled, his voice wavering. "You're just trying to intimidate us." "It's impossible," I responded, bringing out the official papers, the official deed. The mortgage statements, the bank transfers, every single piece of documentation that definitively proved the house was now mine and had been for some time. I pushed them across the table. My dad paused before picking them up, his hands shaking. He scanned the words, desperately trying to find an error, a way to prove I was wrong. But he found nothing. His face lost all its color. My mom then snatched the papers from him, quickly flipping through them as if they might magically change if she looked hard enough. But the inescapable fact was there in plain sight. This house was mine, and they had nothing. Adam's eyes got wider as the truth finally sunk in. This isn't right, I thought. This can't possibly be real. A tiny chuckle escaped me, not because I found it funny, but because I enjoyed their distress so much. "Not right," I echoed, leaning closer. "You think this is unfair?" I saw their terror intensify, consuming them like an infection. It was fantastic. How many times had I felt this precise, awful helplessness because of them? Like when Mom took my cash, saying she'd repay me, but never did. Or when Dad used my savings for some business scheme that was completely fabricated. When Adam squandered thousands partying, knowing I'd handle his rent. I'd given them everything, and they had smiled at me while secretly scheming to discard me. Now it was their turn to feel vulnerable. Mom was the first to crack. She grabbed my arm, her nails piercing my skin, her voice laden with insincere worry. "Sweetheart," she murmured, you're not really going to do this to your own relatives, are you?" I slowly turned my head to look at her. My own family, I let that thought linger. The same family that had spent months pretending to adore me only to empty my accounts. The same family that had been eagerly waiting for the moment they could abandon me. I'd seen their private conversations. I'd witnessed their laughter at my expense. And now, she wanted to act like a caring parent. I removed my arm. "You made your decision," I said, my tone unnervingly composed. "Now you have to deal with the consequences." My father shot to his feet, and his chair made a screeching sound as it moved. His complexion was flushed with anger. "This is a farce," he snarled. "You think you can just evict us? You wouldn't do that." I cocked my head to the side. "Or would I?" The room went quiet. I let my question linger, watching as their self-assurance crumbled. Adam was walking back and forth now, running his fingers through his hair as if he was about to have a breakdown. "This isn't happening," he whispered. "This isn't happening." "Oh, it absolutely is," I told him. "Also, just so there's no misunderstanding, you have 30 days to get your stuff and leave." My mother gasped, putting her hands over her mouth. My dad pounded the table with his fist. "You unappreciative little," I raised my hand. "I'd advise you to pick your next words carefully," I said, my voice cold. My father clamped his mouth shut, his teeth clicking. Excellent. For the first time ever, I was the one in command, and I intended to savor every single moment. Out of everyone in that room, I knew Adam would be the first to crack. He had always been the most pampered, the most privileged, the one who'd never had to work for anything. So it wasn't a shock when, after 3 days, he was standing at my door looking utterly defeated. I didn't say anything at first. I simply waited. I just want to speak with you," he stammered, fidgeting. I crossed my arms. "Speak." He paused, then came into the room. Adam seemed uneasy, something I'd never seen before. "I get that you're angry," he began, "but surely you don't want us to leave, do you?" I gave him a skeptical look. "Adam," I said, taking my time. "Did you or did you not intend to throw me out?" His expression changed. "I know," he mumbled. "All right, look, I didn't mean it." "Mom and Dad, I interrupted him. "You didn't mean it," I repeated. "So when you said she'll never catch on, she's too desperate for our approval, it was just what? A joke." He closed his mouth tightly. I slowly moved closer to him. You didn't care how much I gave up for this family. You didn't care how much I endured, I continued. As long as you got what you wanted, it was all that mattered, right? Adam looked down, embarrassed, but I wasn't finished speaking. I inched closer, speaking in a softer tone. So tell me, Adam, why should I be concerned about what becomes of you now? Tears started to well up in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything because we both already knew the truth. I shouldn't care. The following day I met with a realtor. The house sold. In just 2 weeks I found a buyer who paid in cash. Mom and Dad completely lost it. You can't sell our house. Mom shrieked. Dad looked as if he might have a heart attack, but I simply smiled. It's not your house, I reminded them. It's mine. The final, definitive act. I put a deposit down on a lovely apartment just for me, using a portion of the money. The remainder, I kept it. For the first time in my life, I was thinking only of myself. It was such an amazing feeling. My family completely lost it the second the house went on the market. Mom stopped putting on the act of a caring, gentle mother. Dad cast aside his false sense of dignity. And as for Adam, he completely disregarded any sense of self-worth. It was like witnessing a group of wild animals becoming aggressive when they realized that the food they had been anticipating was being removed. 3 days after the for sale sign went up, I was awakened by aggressive banging on my bedroom door. Open this door right now. It was Dad. His voice was trembling with barely suppressed anger. I took my time getting out of bed, stretching as if I hadn't just been abruptly awakened by his furious knocking. When I finally opened the door, he almost pushed his way inside. Do you think this is amusing? He snapped, his face flushed with fury. I gave him a slow, vacant look. What specifically? This. The blasted house, the sale. Do you think you can just toss us onto the streets like some worthless garbage? I leaned against the doorframe, my arms folded. Oh, so you mean like how you were planning to cast me aside? Dad's nostrils widened, his lips were compressed into a thin, angry line. You don't understand, he growled. We were just upset. We didn't mean any of it, I chuckled sharply. You want me to believe that? Mom suddenly showed up behind him with tears in her eyes. Sweetheart, please, we're still family. We brought you up. Looked after you, I held up a finger. Let's make something very clear. I said, my voice devoid of emotion. You didn't raise me, you drained me. I was the one who held this household together while you all just sat idly by. Now you've run out of chances. Adam materialized at the end of the hallway, his complexion drained of color, his arms folded. He seemed on edge, as though he had something to say but couldn't find the words. I turned towards him, raising an eyebrow in question. Nothing new to add, little brother. No sarcastic comments this go-around. His jaw tightened. He looked afraid for the first time. I didn't wait for a response. I took a step backward and began shutting my bedroom door. You have 3 weeks to vacate. I reiterated that to them. Make the most of that time. Afterward, I locked the door, shutting them out. 3 weeks. For those 3 weeks, they tried everything. Initially, they attempted to make me feel guilty. Mom instantly became unwell and supposedly needed my assistance. Dad started recalling fond memories from the past. Adam even murmured something about our shared history. We're still siblings, correct? As if that mattered at all. I paid them no mind. Next, they tried to scare me. Dad's tone became sharper. He began making threats quietly. You think you're so incredibly clever, do you? Just wait until life hits you hard. You'll be back begging for help. Mom started slamming doors just to create a racket, making the house feel tense and unwelcoming. Adam just looked completely bewildered. They were falling apart. And me, I felt more empowered than I had ever felt before. Moving day. I packed my bags silently. Everything I owned, everything I had worked so hard for was going with me. Mom sat on the sofa, watching helplessly as I carried box after box toward the front door. Dad, he had vanished. I perched on the steps and stared at Adam, his face buried in his hands. I stopped, focusing on him. Do you have something you need to tell me? I questioned. He took a big gulp. I made a mistake. I arched an eyebrow. Indeed, you did. He let out a long breath. I didn't intend for it to go this way, you know? I mean, I was an idiot. I believed everything would be okay for us. That everything would magically fall into place. You thought I'd always be there to catch you, I stated. He didn't dispute my words. For a brief moment, I nearly felt bad for him. Nearly. But then I recalled every single instance I'd fallen asleep at night, sobbing, drained, and without money, as I pondered how I would handle my expenses. And I kept moving. Just as I arrived at the door, Mom suddenly stood up. "Wait," she exclaimed, hurrying over. I tensed up, getting ready for whatever she had to say. She looked at me, her eyes shiny with tears she hadn't shed yet. "We're family," she murmured. "Don't do this." I met her gaze directly. "You ceased being my family the second you treated me like a source of income." Her face fell apart. I turned and left without uttering another word. The second I was outside, I could breathe easier. For the first time in ages, I was unburdened. The sale of the house concluded the next week. The day my parents were officially required to leave, I received a text from Dad. "Dad, you'll regret this." I ignored it. I blocked his phone number. Mom subsequently tried to call. I let the phone keep ringing. After that, I blocked her too. Adam was the final person to attempt contact. "Adam, when I finally sort my life out, do you believe we could possibly be true siblings again?" I studied the message for a prolonged period. After that, I exhaled and just left it unopened. Without them constantly taking from me, I finally had the opportunity to concentrate on my own well-being. I secured a wonderful apartment right in the heart of the city. I began putting money away for myself, rather than for them. I surrounded myself with individuals who genuinely had my best interests at heart. And my folks. The last I knew, they were residing in a cramped, dilapidated rental property, barely managing to make ends meet. Payback, it was a glorious thing. Months went by. One day, I received an email from Mom. "Mom, we desperately need your assistance. Can we have a discussion?" I examined it for a significant period, then I removed it. No reply, no second thoughts. They had made their decision. Now they could just deal with it. I declined to allow their errors to determine who I am. I had devoted my entire existence attempting to gain their affection. Now I valued myself enough to break free. I would never again permit somebody to exploit me. Never again would I plead for little bits of attention. I had discovered my value, and this time I wasn't giving anyone the opportunity to manipulate me again. I never looked back. Not ever, because for the first time in my entire existence, I was existing for myself, and it felt fantastic.